In this video, I'll talk about assignment 3 for this course, which is the ROL, Review of Literature. So feel free to pause the video. This just gives the overview of the 3 assignments. So the goals of completing the ROL are firstly to gain expertise in your chosen topic area. So keeping in mind that many of you will go into applied practice instead of research, by completing this independent study or thesis project for your degree here, you're going to gain a lot of depth of knowledge in this particular topic area, which hopefully will be valuable to you in your career. You're going to summarize and synthesize relevant literature, of course, as you've done for assignments 1 and 2. And again, the goal of this exercise is to learn from other scholars, other researchers that have come before you, what findings have already been reported, what research questions still need to be answered, and therefore what study will be valuable, feasible, and interesting for you to plan and execute. And just to kind of preview how this will be useful in your proposal design course, if you're required to take that course, which many of you will be, this will appear, the ROL will appear in Appendix B. So this just kind of shows the outline for the Springfield College thesis proposal format, just so you can kind of see what goes where. So the review of literature actually will fall in Appendix B. You'll have additional appendices after that, and you actually have Appendix A about your research design that will come before that. That's all stuff that you'll write later on after this course. Again, when you take proposal design, but basically the take-home message here is what you're working on now is actually going to be useful to you in that course as well. So you're kind of getting a head start for that course, assuming you don't decide later to change topics and have to start all over again with a new ROL. So in assignment 3, you're basically building upon what you've written in assignments 1 and 2 to expand that into a roughly 15 to 20 page review of literature, or ROL. So the ROL will consist of 4 sections: an introduction, 2 content sections, one of which will carry over directly from assignment 2, obviously making any corrections or revisions that were recommended of you, and then basically adding another content section in from scratch, and then you'll write a summary of literature section. I'll talk more about each of these sections on the next slide. Also required for assignment 3 is that you'll cite at least 15 sources in text and increase your bibliography to at least 20 sources. So here are more details about the 4 sections that are required. The intro should contain roughly 2 to 3 paragraphs of background information, basically emphasizing the importance of the topic to the real world or to your discipline. You'll have a few citations, but obviously most of the literature you're reviewing will fall into the content sections. Near the end of the introduction, basically the last sentence should say something like, "This review of literature consists of the following sections," and you literally just list out your sections word for word. The content sections should each start with an introduction, synthesize at least 6 sources, basically what you did for assignment 2, and then summarize and transition to the next section. In the final section, the summary of literature, you're basically just recapping each of the content sections with approximately 2 paragraphs dedicated to each of your content sections. You'll cite, again, the most important sources that you included above, but do not cite anything new in your summary of literature section. And at the very end, you sort of give an overall recap and make recommendations for future studies. So basically what you need to do is identify where is the gap in the literature that you plan to fill with your study that you're doing for your independent study, your thesis, your dissertation, etc. And so finally, I'll just give a few steps in how to complete your ROL. So step 1, make an outline, basically where you identify your section headings. This is already going to be required for assignment 2. There's a handout that's provided for assignment 2, when you go into assignment 3, basically just look back at your outline and decide whether you want to make any changes. You can refer back to video or PowerPoint number 6, which covers assignment 2, to give more to see more information about section heading types and examples. Then step 2, search the literature. We've already covered this, and basically working towards assignments 1 and 2, but basically you need to keep building upon the body of literature that you've already put together, and just try and identify, like as usual, which sources fit within each of your sections, and try to kind of weed out any that aren't as relevant, etc. So it can be a benefit to have more sources than you need, and you can always discard ones that aren't as relevant as you initially thought. Step 3, read and take notes on the literature. So this is basically the same exercise that you were asked to do for assignment 1, where you write article summaries and annotations. That doesn't mean that you need to necessarily go through all those steps for every article you read. Each person obviously will find their own efficient way of processing and extracting the important information from each of their research articles or books that they're referring to. And step 4, write the ROL. So follow your outline, write in a clear and organized way, try to apply all of the recommendations that we've talked about from the textbook in terms of writing in plain English, and just be deliberate about the order in which you present the info. Try and make it, for example, flow in like a more general to more specific direction or something like that. So try to at least give some thought to how you want to order everything. In general, use a format of introduce, develop, and summarize. And we've kind of talked already about how that looks at every level of the paper. So basically you have, in each paragraph, you have like an introductory sentence, then you develop with a few more sentences, and then you summarize it with a final sentence. And then each section of your ROL will have like an introductory paragraph and a summary paragraph with several paragraphs in between where you develop the topic. And even the whole ROL itself has its own introduction section, summary section, with content sections in between where you're developing the material. So I know it's very repetitive, that format, but that's pretty much the way you're expected to write, is where you introduce something, develop it, and then summarize it. And that's basically it for this video. Thank you for your attention, and I will see you soon.